privilege it is to be welcomed into your home. And I wanted to go over another stock market update. The stock market has taken off. Even though there's many news that should be holding the stock market back, what we're seeing is that this market is just powering through regardless of the news. There are some earnings reports that were actually very encouraging. You saw DoorDash actually up 14%. Many other companies who are reporting earnings are still reporting decent earnings. One of the things that's going to hold and maybe detract the market a little bit could be the jobs report that's coming tomorrow morning at Friday. But we're going to see how the market lands today. We have had a week of mega runs in the S&P 500. The S&P 500 has shot through the $7,000 mark. As I was saying, we needed some type of catalyst to push us through the $7,000 mark. Now that we're closing in on the 7,400, could this market now take a breather? Could this market now take a pullback? If we do see a pullback in the S&P 500, I would see the S&P 500 dropping back to around the 7,200 range, around the 7,214 range to be exact. Why? Because there's a place where there was a lot of indecision there and then it just took off. Could it be a place where the market, if it retraces, comes back? That could be it. But now that we're seeing that we're still trending higher in the stock market, regardless of feelings of if the market is going to go down, right now we are trending higher. And there's an old saying in the stock market that is the trend is your friend. And many people who are seeing that are still seeing the United States trending in an upward market. Even though many people are losing jobs, the economy still is pushing forward. This Iranian crisis is still dragging on. Like I mentioned before, the Iranians or this current regime in Iran does not want peace. Any regime that's willing to die and to put their own people in harm's way only to not be defeated is a regime that can do anything. And they still have cells around the United States that are planted that are ready to do perform martyrdom. We've seen this time and time again. This is not something new. So does this regime actually want peace? There's many people in the Middle East, many other countries, Arab nations that do want peace. And we're starting to see that many of them are trying to intervene. Will this regime in Iran persist on fighting, or will it heed? And hopefully, I'm hoping more for peace. But the Bible and scripture does talk about in the end, there will be wars and rumors of wars. Then the end shall come. And as a capitalist, I look at defense contractors. If you're a person who is in the military or you have served in our military in some capacity, I will look at the gifts that God has already given you. You understand the defense, you understand war, and nobody likes to say this, but there is a lot of money in war. And there are many publicly traded companies in this space, from just Palantir, Northrop Grumman, Boeing, Raytheon, Halliburton. The list goes on and on and on and on. You have GE Aerospace. So you start seeing that there's many companies that are benefiting from war. You start seeing like Kratos Defense, up and coming company. You're seeing a lot of companies who are not even publicly traded yet, but are on the spectrum. One of those big country companies is Andro. If you've ever played like the VR virtual reality, the the person who started that company is the one behind Andro, and I'm excited because the warfare of the next generation is totally going to be different. We're going to be seeing a war almost like what we see in movies, almost like the War of the Flies or something like that, except there's going to be warfare. And we're going to start seeing that a lot of new ways of technology, things that we've seen in maybe sci-fi films, maybe in the 80s, 90s, or early 2000s, are really coming to pass. Even you look at Will Smith's I, Robot. I mean, you look at that, Tesla is like really building robots like that. And which is, you're starting to see how a lot of things that we thought were sci-fi are really coming to pass. And we've seen that the stock market, there's many things that could happen. Over here, I got we see Tesla's up right now. A lot of companies are doing pretty well. Tesla had a nice little move today, but Tesla is also one of those companies that it moves up precipitously in one day, and all for the retail traders or the day trader just to dump the stock. So a lot of that happens. So I want to take a look at a few stocks, and I'm going to share my screen. Looking at the futures, the micro mini futures, kind of in that 773.92 range. Kind of seeing what that happens. The S&P really in a position where it could create a doji. Let's go to the S&P 500. Let's go to SPX. All right, we see the S&P 500 now up currently 7 points. It's at that 7,372 range. Could it try to go hit the 7,400 mark? That is something that it is going to try to do, and this is it's creating new highs. Right now is what we're seeing here is you have this range right here in the 7,002 mark, where this has now become a floor. Right here, this little range here has become a floor. We've already done a V pattern. Could this be a setup? Now, this could be a setup where are we curving, or is this the top of it, and could it go down and create a head and shoulders? One would wonder what the S&P 500 is doing. But right now, what you're seeing right now is just an uptrend. This is just an uptrend, but look at this V-shaped recovery that we've had. That is, we've had several of those. I mean, we've had, look at this one right here in this section right here. We've had a V-shaped recovery, which is unheard of. Usually these V-shape, when you look at it in a long term, you could see it in a long-term market where you see some of it happens in several years, but this has happened in several weeks. I mean, this market is really moving in a place where I have not seen it move that way. But we're starting to see that you can take advantage of those moves. Now, this is the part of, if you're buying and holding, then you're doing well. Here's where it's also kind of prudent if you just put some insurance on your policies to protect you from these moves. Now, if you're a person who's living on daily income from the stock market, these moves are really what's going to feed you, because you can make so much money off these dips and then ride the wave right back up. And that's one of the things that we look at is, how can we profit in the stock market? How can we take advantage of what's going on? Take advantage of the news. That's the biggest thing. I tell people, you know, I'm a capitalist, and I take advantage of, I don't care. That's why I don't associate with one side or the other. That's why I take advantage of what's happening in the news. And there's a lot of little isms in the stock market, but one of the things is you buy on rumors and you sell on the news. So a lot of rumors, and you have to remember that we are giving a lot of disinformation on purpose. You got to remember that a lot of these big name companies have hired PR firms in order to give us information that they want us to know. There's a reason why you know everything about Elon Musk, but if I ask you who's the CEO of Ford, you wouldn't know who it is. If I ask you who's the CEO of uh, of Bitmine, many of you know Tom Lee. But if I ask you who's the CEO of Hershey's, none of you would know. It's the information that many companies want you to know. And we get a lot of misinformation. So that's why you look at, I don't always listen to what many pundits say. I look at what they do. And when you read a stock chart, what happens is you can see what companies do, not what they say. Many couple of months ago, we had Jamie Dimon saying that Bitcoin was trash. All the while they were buying. So this is one of the things that misinformation is why these markets are so volatile. You got to think of this. These companies, they also want to buy low and sell high. Well, who do they buy low from? From the retail traders who sell when they're panicking. That's why when the market drops this low and this precipitous, and I was saying now is the time to buy. Now is the time to buy. You start seeing that many people were like, well, the sky is falling, the sky is falling, the sky is falling. Well, if you start looking at, not everything goes up. When you want to buy low and you want to sell high is when the market drops. That's why those people who bought real estate in 2009, 2010, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and so on are doing well on equity value because they bought it when nobody wanted it, when there were houses in foreclosure. I mean, this was a created and manufactured crisis by the banking system and the mortgage business. So you start seeing is that could there be an AI bubble? I think so. There's a lot of companies in the AI space that are not going to come to fruition, that are not going to go anywhere. There's a lot of companies that are going to overbuild and overpromise. Now we're seeing a couple of months ago, a couple of weeks ago, Valuetainment, they put an article on how many data centers are being halted or stopped or completely just being stopped right now. First, there's not enough power. Number two is we are too optimistic about AI. We're in the same place where many of us, where our grandparents were in the 1920s, hopeful for the car, hopeful for these roadway systems, hopeful for all this that was happening, the building. Yes, it was happening, but a lot of it was overhyped. And you start seeing that things take time. To build a nuclear plant, we're several years away. This is not a one and done. This is something that takes 5 to 10 years to complete. And we're starting to see where the S&P is mirroring some of these things. Now, could this be a correction for setup to go keep going up? I think so. But at this pace, the S&P 500 this year could finish above 8,000. Do you think that the S&P is going to finish above 8,000? Put your comments in there. Let me know. Yes or no? Is the S&P 500 going to finish above 8,000 this year? I want to know your feedback. One of the things we want to look at here is the NASDAQ. NASDAQ again, another great bullish day, record highs. Again, same similar position that it is here. Okay. If the NASDAQ comes back down, this range right here in the 26, starting at 24,000 to 26,000, is the range where I believe if the NASDAQ comes back down, would be a place where I would load up again. Because you see this space right here is giving me a place where there's a lot of investors, institutional investors fighting right here for price. So this right here is a place, to me, is a place of, okay, indecision. We did almost a double top, and then you start looking right here, we precipitously went down. We almost went to a place where we were before. Check this out. Close to it. We went to where we were at before. If I didn't even draw this line right here. Look at this right here. If we just go, I got a lot of stuff on my screen right now. There we go. If you look at this line right here, you start seeing that we're close when we came back down, close to another area where it was at before. Stock charts follow patterns. That's why if you're a person, a nurse, who can read an EKG machine, or you might be a musician that maybe you can probably handle something. Give me 1 second. I gotta handle this live phone call. Dime, primo, estoy en vivo en las redes sociales. Estoy en vivo, so, estoy hablando contigo en vivo. ¿Un qué? ¿De cuánto? Posiblemente. Déjame llamarte para atrás como en media hora. Yo te dejo saber. All right. All right. All right. There we go over here. Where was I? Live calls. This is a live show, so this is what we're doing. So now we start looking here that this could be a place where the stock market could go. So I'm looking at the NASDAQ here is right now is at a place where it's just bullish right now, new highs. But I'm also expecting this stock market to give a retracement. We have had a bullish run over the last 3 weeks. I mean, the last 3 weeks have been just nuts. How high, how quick, how like real direct this move was. I'm also thinking this could be a breather. Now, it's not going to drop all in one day. This could be a sequence of several days, several weeks, maybe a month, couple of months that it could drop, or we could just drop a little bit and just bounce and keep going right back up. So the Nasdaq is a big play in this because you have the big hitters, you have the Max 7 are all in that area. So we start seeing here the Dow Jones. This one is doing a nice little bounce here. I put this one a couple of months ago. So we could see that it bounced, kind of hit this off. So this could be the new demand zone for it to bounce up right now. So look at this V shape. Again, the Dow Jones hasn't had the move or the huge impact that the S&P and the Nasdaq have had. If you look at their charts, the Dow Jones, basically what they did is basically go back to the even part. So where the S&P they super passed and Nasdaq passed the neckline right here, you see that the Dow Jones hasn't really passed it. Is it trying to? Yes. But also the Dow Jones Industrial is kind of struggling to get to that. So I will look at the Nasdaq and the S&P. I also believe that eventually the Nasdaq is going to pass the Dow Jones. Uh, Generally, because Dow Jones is average about 30 of the biggest stocks in the country, and when you average out 30 stocks versus 100, there's a big difference. And also the S&P, you have 500, and that's why we usually look at the S&P, because it gives us a bigger ballpark of what the country's doing, because we have so many. We got over 20,000 publicly traded companies. So when you have 500 companies, it gives you a better barometer of what the country is doing as a whole and what the economy is doing. We look at Apple. I'm gonna look at a few stocks. Look at Apple again. I was saying that look at this wedge pattern. It surpassed that. I thought it was gonna pinch a little more, but we could see that the this stock market just kind of just beat it. We talked about this. We talked about this several weeks ago, that this could be in a wedge pattern, and it was almost building like a little flag pattern, bull flag pattern here, and then it just jumped out. Many of you seen in my videos a couple of weeks ago, I mentioned that I was bullish on Apple. If you bought Apple, good for you. Tesla, again, still in this range, still in decision. Even though it had a nice bullish day, this stock could go right back down to 340. So let's see what Tesla does. I'm bullish. I love Tesla, but it's one of those stocks that you have to have Pepto Bismol, because it just moves so much, and it's almost like trading a futures type of contract. It really is. Tesla moves so much, and but if you're long term, you can stomach those moves. In Netflix, again, kind of right back down in this range. If you want to load up on this stock, if this is something that you're considering, I like this stock at this price. Uh, I, like I mentioned, I believe that Netflix is just ahead of the curve in a lot of the programming. I believe they're going to be doing a lot of live sports. It's something that more of a personal belief. I'm not a fan of Reed Hastings, but I also think that Netflix has always been in on the next thing. So let's see what's going on with that. Gold, nice move up. We're trying to see if gold is going to make that move to the $5,000 mark. Let's see. Silver, again, nice bullish move to the $4 to the upside. 450 right now at $81. I was saying that silver could be in a range where it would stay in that $70 to $80 range, and I think that could be the new $35 range for silver. But it had a precipitous drop, move to the upside. I would not be shocked to see this move down. Let's look at a Bitcoin passing the 80,000 mark, and it's kind of just seeing if it stays there. I want to see if it stays there. It's in a place where you could say, "Hey, this is a place where this stock has been at before," and this place right here is a place of, I would say that, hey, we're revisiting this place. Let me put some anchors in here. Do a long position. All right. So we start seeing here, Bitcoin, I believe, is in a place where this is going to take off. I really do. For all the people who bought down here in that 65,000, you see a lot of people who loaded up, and I believe a lot of them were institutions and big retail buyers. So I believe Bitcoin is going to do it. Ethereum, I'm bullish on it. Right now, it's down 54 points. I like what I thought it would have made the move to the 4,000 a lot quicker, but then again, it has been slow. If you've been investing in Ethereum, I think right now is just loading up time. I mean, even at the 296, we're starting to see that it's just been channeling in this range. And we're seeing that this is a place where you could consider either buying more or adding to your position right now. So as we look forward and as we talk about what's going to happen on the rest of the stock market day, we're starting to see that the Dow Jones is up 97 points. S&P continues to move up 11 points, even though it looked like it was going to go down. S&P is roaring through. We see NASDAQ up 164 points. Russell 2000 struggling a little bit, but it's just been powering through the 2871. Russell's been doing well. And we're going to see what the stock market does for the rest of the day. Right now, we're going to see we've seen some news here that the earnings report is just really doing well. And one of the things that may push this market into the stratosphere is if Iran comes to the table. But one can only hope, one can only wonder if this is going to be something that may come to pass, or will this be something that just drags the market down and you have to learn how to invest and invest in your portfolio. One of the things that I love is that scripture is so pivotal in how we conduct ourselves with business, and I love that. And as we start looking, if you haven't checked out my podcast, go ahead and subscribe to the Finance Pastor. There's other videos, and I hope to just keep investing in you guys. And I really love teaching this. I love finances. I believe that that's the calling that God has given me. I've been in the finances arena for over 18 years. Just like a kid, just trying to learn. I started reading books. I started reading books like Rich Dad Poor Dad. And then little by little, I found myself going to classes, seminars, investing in classes like many of you here. And like many of us, I'm a learner. I'm always a learner. So I'm thankful for that. But I hope you guys are doing well. And until next time, see